Okay, we're moving on to number now, so we're looking at Bidmas. Before we move on to that though, pause the timer here. You've got a starter of 10 questions. See how many of those you can answer in 10 minutes. So here you can see the answers to those questions. I'm going to go through 4 and 9, but other than that, the workings are on the screen. So for question 4, this 5 on the outside of the bracket means we've got to times both of the parts in the bracket by 5. So let's use some colours to help us out there. I've got to do 5 times 3x. 5 times 3x. Well, that's going to be 15x. And then the other part I need to do is the 5 times the minus 2. 5 times negative 2. That gives me negative 10. So putting those two bits together, we've got that 15x, and I've got negative 10. So that should be your answer to question 4. The last one I'm going to go through is question 9. I've written it over here, so we've got a bit more room. So we need to end up with x equals, and then a number. That's what it means to solve. So if you remember, the first step we've got to do is get all of the x's on one side and all the numbers on the other side. So to get all the x's to one side, I'm going to find the smallest value of x. So I've got 6x on the left-hand side and 4x on the right. So 4x is the smaller amount of x's. So to get rid of plus 4x, I've got to do the opposite. I'm going to take away 4x from both sides. What does that leave us with? Well, 6x take away 4x gives me 2x. This plus 2 hasn't changed, that's got to stay. On the other side of the equals, we've got 4x take away 4x, well that's 0x, or just leave it blank, and I've still got the 14 there. Great, so I've now only got one lot of x's. I've still got to get to x equals, and the thing in the way now is that plus 2, because I'm looking to get all the x's on this side and all the numbers on this side, so I need to get rid of that plus 2. So remember, we do the opposite, minus 2, and if I do it to one side of the equals, I have to do it to the other side. So let's go through that again. So 2x is going to be left on the left-hand side. 2 take away 2 is 0. We're not going to write 0. We'll just leave it like that. 14 take away 2 gives me 12. Right, I'm very nearly there. I've got the x's on one side and the numbers on the other. How do I do this last step? How do I go from 2x to x? Well, just remember that 2x is the same as 2 times by x. So to get rid of 2 times, I've got to divide by 2, and if I do it to one side, I do it to the other. So I'm dividing by 2, leaving me x on this side, and 12 divided by 2, which is 6 on the other side. Really well done if you got that one. Take a minute just to pause this and mark the rest of your answers. So Bidmas or Bodmas, it doesn't matter, you would have heard before. Take 30 seconds to pause the video. Can you fill in the words that go after each of the letters? So what does B stand for, what does I stand for, and so on. So pause the video, see if you can get all of those. Okay, so you should have got brackets, indices, or order if you use Bodmas. Division, multiplication, addition, and finally subtraction. So what actually is Bidmas? Well, it just tells us the order of which operation to do when. So it tells us when to do brackets, when to do timesing, and so on. I have a lot of people asking me after a question, has the question used Bidmas this time, or should we use Bidmas? And Bidmas rules apply all of the time. So even if the question doesn't specify that this is a Bidmas question, whenever you see a list of operations, you're always going to apply the order of Bidmas. So to start us off, let's have a look at this question here. We've got 2 students did this calculation. Student A got 21, student B got 11. Who is correct and why? Well, let's have a think of what actually happened. So 5 plus 2 times 3. If we just did it in the order of left to right, 5 plus 2 is 7, times by 3 is 21. Okay, but using Bidmas rules, I've got to do brackets first. Well, there's no brackets. Indices, so things like squared or cubed, there's none of that. Division, there's no division. Multiplication, okay, so there is some multiplication in there. Where is the multiplication? It's these two numbers here. So I've got to do that first. So 2 times 3 is 6. Everything else that I didn't underline stays the same. And then the next thing along the line, we've got addition. There is some addition. 5 plus 6, that gives me 11. So we always need to use Bidmas. So student B, who got the score of 11, is actually correct because they've used Bidmas, whereas student A, who got 21, is wrong because they've just read it from left to right, and that's not how it works in maths. Whenever you see anything like this, always use Bidmas. So student B is actually correct. So make sure you don't make this error. So a lot of this lesson is just going to be practice. We've got to be able to do this quite easily. So always remember this Bidmas on the left-hand side. If you need to write it on your page, that's fine. If you've got it in your head, that's okay too. So this is how I'd like us to set it out. So going through Bidmas, brackets, are there any brackets? There is. So I'm going to stop there, underline the bit that's got brackets in and sort that bit out there. Well, in the brackets, we've got a bit of complication anyway, because we've got to work out what to do first. Am I going to do 5 times 2 and then square it, or am I going to do the 2 squared? So I've actually got to apply Bidmas within the brackets as well. So having a look at this bit here, 5 times 2 squared. Well, let's have a look along Bidmas again. Brackets now, indices. So I've got to do this bit first here. So 2 squared is 4. So I'm going to change that bit. Everything else stays the same. And now I've got 5 times 4, which is 20. So the brackets part here, I eventually got 20. So let's fill that in now. 20, and the rest of the question stays the same. Okay, let's carry along the list of our Bidmas. Indices, we're looking at this here. There's no longer indices, so let's carry on. Division, there is division, so I now need to have a look there. Where's their division in that question? It's this green bit that I've underlined, so I'm going to do that bit. 12 divided by 3 is 4, and everything else stays the same. And then we've got really simple 20 plus 4, so my answer is 24. So work through Bidmas like that, underline the bit that you're sorting out, like we did there, and then write everything else out the same, like we did there. Okay, so straight into some practice. If you're not so confident, start on bronze. If you're quite confident, start on silver. At any point, you can switch between bronze, silver, and gold. So if you choose questions too tricky, move back a stage. If you choose them too easy, move up a stage. Those of you who are choosing gold, you're only going to do question 8, 9, and 10, and then you're going to have a go at some questions on the next slide as a sort of extension. So here's your extension questions for those of you who've chosen gold. Again, pause the video and have a go at some of these. Okay, use the slide again to mark your answers. So mark the ones you've done in highlighted where the answers are. Those of you on gold, also mark your answers here. So up till now, we've been given an expression and we've used Bidmas rules to find the answer. Now for something slightly different, we're given an equation here and it doesn't quite make sense. And so in order for it to make sense, we need to put in brackets, okay? So let's have a go at this one on the left, and then you're going to have a go at the one on the right. Best thing for this here is sort of just look at it, and you've sort of got to use trial and error. So let's say, for example, I think the brackets are going to go there. What would that give me? Well, I've got to do brackets first, 8 plus 4. Then I've got to do timesing, which is 12 times 5. That's way too big. That's going to give me 58. So sort of just work your way along. See where you think the brackets could go. Maybe this time I think they're going to go here. Is that going to work? Well, I've got to do the brackets first, so everything else stays the same. Then indices, there's no indices. Division, no division. Multiplication, there is some multiplication there. 8 plus 12, which does give me 20. So just using trial and error, putting the brackets where I think they may go and seeing if then that gives us the right answer, has got me that the brackets must go here, one side of the 5, one side of the 2. Pause this video, see if you can find where the brackets have to go on the right hand side question. Okay, well done if you got this one. So actually the brackets need to go right at the start here. So the brackets we would do first to get 10. Everything else stays the same. Then we're going to do the multiplication, which 50 minus 1 does give me 49. So well done if you've got that one. Next exercise is doing exactly that. So choose again your level, bronze, silver or gold. You've got to insert the brackets to make these questions correct. Pause the video now. Okay, so here are the answers, so mark them off. And finally, we are going to end with a Kahoot quiz. So go back to show my homework, click on the Kahoot quiz link. Don't forget to put your name as your username so that I can award you lockdown points. The top 3 scorers will get those points, as well as one person who completes the quiz randomly. So make sure you get all the way through to the last question, and 4 people will be gaining lockdown